Welcome to Richard Quick's instructional videotapes for competitive swimming. My name is Richard Quick from Stanford University. I've coached the women's team here for the past 14 years. We've been very fortunate, winning 7 NCAA championships and 5 before that at the University of Texas. We're very anxious and excited to show you the drills and skills that we use at Stanford University, producing American record holders, world record holders, Olympic gold medal winners, NCAA champions, and people just swimming fast. The principles that we're going to teach in our instructional videotapes were pioneered by Bill Boomer, and I'd like to thank Bill for his input since 1992 in Stanford women's swimming. I'd also like to thank Milton Elms, who's going to work with me in these videotapes. He's going to draw some awesome pictures, and he works with us as a coach, helping us to develop national and international champions. Welcome aboard. We're looking forward to teaching you the techniques of fast swimming. Breaststroke. Breaststroke's such a vital stroke to every team. It's related to butterfly, short axis swimming. It's a manipulation of posture, line, and balance. You manipulate your posture and balance slightly below the line, forward, and slightly above the line, forward. Now remember, everything's forward, not up and down. I'm going to show you a common mistake that I see in breaststroke before I start building the proper stroke. But a lot of people see breaststrokers that come up and they say, okay, I can do that. I'm going to bring my head and shoulders back so I get up in the water. And then they're going to dive out here, drop down, and dive down. Both those things are wrong, because the emphasis is up and down instead of forward. Again, let me tell you, you manipulate your lungs slightly below the line, release slightly above the line. Now, breaststroke. It's got a lot of wonderful phases, and by the way, I think it's the toughest stroke. It's the slowest stroke, so you have to be in a little bit better shape to swim it, because the time of each race takes a little bit longer, and it's completely different than the other strokes. It has a different rhythm to it. You have to recover under the water, or at least at the surface of the water. So you have to be a tough athlete to be a great breaststroker, and you have to be a little bit more of an artist, because you have to feel and then bring an explosive movement to it. Let's talk about that. Start with a line and posture. Now look at it from the side. Line and posture, ribs in, belly button against your spine and up, flat back. This is the beginning and the end of each stroke, right here. Now, in this stroke, you want to sweep out to a wide Y. Sweep out to a wide Y. And that sweep out to this wide Y is done softly. It's done so you're engaging your back muscles, kind of reaching for the end of the pool, but it's done softly. If you were driving a car, it'd be like going through the neighborhood at 25 miles an hour, right in here. Now, when you get to the wide Y, we call that the corners. That's the corner. And you turn your palms slightly back and slightly down, and that's the beginning of the inward sweep. And the inward sweep comes, and that's what it is. You notice I'm not pulling. I sweep to a wide Y, and then on this inward sweep, it's a sweep in. It's a skull in. Don't think pull. It's not this kind of a movement at all in breaststroke. It's sweep out, sweep in, and forward. All right, now here we go again. Sweep out to a wide Y, sweep in toward your chin, but look, you leave your elbows on the surface of the water and they follow your arms in here, right in here. Now, you're picking up speed. You go from the neighborhood, 25 miles an hour, to the freeway in here, 65 miles an hour, right in here. 65 miles an hour. And then you go back to the line. Now you're back on the Autobahn, 100 miles an hour, 25, 65, 100. Get back to that line. Now it's one motion forward in breaststroke. Now, that's what happens with the arms. What role does the body play, and when does the body come in? As you sweep to the wide, you do what we call load. You press your face and your chest forward and down in the water just a little bit. Turning to the side here, forward and slightly down, so that you have 1 inch of water running over your back. What you're doing is you're setting up the water to help you in your breaststroke movement. The water is going to now want to throw you forward and up. And that's what you need to have happen. So, as you sweep to a wide Y here, right here, you press forward and slightly below the line. Now you release and you travel slightly above the line on the inward sweep. Now, on that inward sweep, it's like you have an anchor here on the corner. We've talked about anchoring in all the strokes. You anchor on the corner here, and that's where you slide your hips forward. Right here, your hips slide forward. Now look, it's like you take your rib cage and the top of your hip bone here, and you bring them even closer together, right here on this slide forward. And that's the platform that you're going to strike forward. So let's go over this again. You sweep to a wide Y. While you sweep to that wide Y, you load. You sweep to a wide Y and load, pressing your face and chest forward and slightly down below the line, 1 inch of water running over your back. Then you release, going forward. On the anchor, you slide your hands forward, your hips forward. You slide your hips forward right here, and you look like you're on a racing bike for an instant, right there, just before you strike the line. Common mistakes in the upper body of breaststroke. One of the common mistakes is, as you sweep to the wide Y, you start your chin forward here. Now where do we go? We're trying to have our lungs go down and forward, and you are taking your head the other direction. You're breaking your line. You want to keep your line. Patience, patience here. Keep the line. Okay, now you get on the corner, and do you ever take your chin forward for the breath? Absolutely not. Anchor, slam your hips forward. You get a breath like in butterfly by reaching with the back of your head, reaching with your neck here, Your eyes are kind of on 45 degrees right in front here, and then you strike the line in front. As my hips come forward off of my anchors here, I just let my knees bend. And my heels slide right along the surface of the water toward my hips. Now, this angle stays as open as possible, right here. Big mistake, drawing your knees up under and putting your brakes on. Coaches, you may have some very small, young swimmers that can look like they can kind of get away with this when they're young, and they'll be pretty fast breaststrokers. You know the ones that look like water bugs in the water. But as they get a little bit bigger, when they put on the brakes like this, if they don't understand that they need to keep this angle open, their breaststroke will go downhill, and they won't know why. And maybe you won't know why. Keep this angle open. Learn to do that. Right here. You're going to feel like you're kicking a little bit behind you. Okay? So here we go again. Load. Hips forward. Brake right there at the knees and let your heels slide toward your hips. Looking at it with my arm demonstration, your heels come up. You don't draw your knees in. Your heels come up toward your hips. As you kind of sneak them in behind your hips, inside the body line. Now, not right together, just about the hip width apart. Reach out with your toes, kick back in together at the same time. Your legs want to be straightening out and coming together at the same time. Breaststroke is a rhythm timing stroke. Another common mistake is when people value pulling. They think pulling is the answer. They'll pull too far back, and they can never overcome the resistance forward. It feels powerful because your body stops in the water, but it's not the way to go. If you're pushing a car, once you get that car going, that's much easier than if you stop each time. So the thing that you're interested in is the average speed of your body going through the water. And it may not feel as powerful on each stroke, but again, like so many other things in swimming, you'll be able to swim breaststroke faster, longer, if you'll use rhythm. Let's talk about one other thing. Breaststroke is rhythm in front, like butterfly. You want to keep these balancing tools, which are your arms, in front of your lungs as much as possible. That'll help you reestablish your balance on each stroke. What we're going to try to show here are a couple of postures that we believe will help you get an idea before you ever get in the water of what you want to accomplish in the water. Tara, slide this way just a bit. All right. Come up on your elbows. Bring your elbows fairly close together because you want to eliminate as much resistance as possible. I'm going to take your beautiful hair here and put it over on this side. Is that okay? Yeah. All right. Now, when you, in breaststroke on the inward sweep, after you've anchored and you're on the inward sweep here, and you want to get a breath, you want to breathe with your neck as much a part of your spine as possible right here. So you actually feel like you breathe by lifting the top part of your neck here forward and slightly up. Forward and slightly up, and you reach with your monkey bump right back here, forward and slightly up. So that the angle, if the water surface would be about right here. Tara has her eyes about 45 degrees ahead, She's not looking at the end of the pool, and she's not looking back at all. She's right there. Now, there you go. Now, the other thing is, in this position, you want to engage, bring your ribs down, suck your belly button up against your spine and forward, right there. Keep your hips on the deck while you do that. Right in there. Now, bend your knees right here. Ribs up, ribs in, I mean. Belly button up. Reach here. Now, that's a pretty good position. Now, the heels are a little bit close together right there. Turn those toes out. Now, that's not a bad position right there in breaststroke. Just an awareness, a posture awareness position to hold in breaststroke. Now, from here, she would be going to her line. I don't want her to hurt herself, but she'd go to her line here and then kick her legs, and she goes back to the line between each stroke. And while she's in this line, what's she thinking? Posture. Posture here. Ribs in, belly button up, line, and balance in front of her lungs with her head and with her arms. Breaststroke, short axis swimming. It's rhythm in front swimming. Keep in mind that your head is first a balancing tool, your arms are first a balancing tool out in front of your lungs. And everything's a manipulation of your body slightly below the line, releasing, letting the water help you, take your body slightly above the line and forward. You want to concentrate on keeping the angle open at the hips so you eliminate as much resistance as possible. Breaststroke is a rhythm stroke. The idea is to get the body moving through the water and not do anything to slow it down. Load, drive your hips, land, strike your line. It's a rhythm stroke. Tara Kirk demonstrating championship winning breaststroke. We've seen a demonstration of the whole stroke in the pool. Now, before we break it down into drills and rebuild the stroke, I'm going to ask our illustration expert, Milton Elms, to demonstrate in this classroom setting the principles of posture, line, and balance as they apply to this stroke.
Breaststroke is the most dramatic of the short axis strokes. The two short axis surface strokes, breaststroke and butterfly, are very close cousins. They both address the principle of working below the surface line and above the surface line to make the stroke work. So breaststroke gets energy out of the water below the line, redirects it above the line, where gravity and momentum become available, and then those are manipulated for forward movement. Okay, the difference between the two strokes are the amplitudes are much more dramatic in breaststroke, and the rhythm pattern is different, much, much different. But the movements and the principles are really very much the same. Now, breaststroke is the slowest stroke because there are many, many, many more drag moments or drag-producing moments in the stroke. And for that reason, an athlete who learns how to manipulate the environment for efficiency has a lot of potential in breaststroke. And I think it's kind of a thinking person's stroke. So, in breaststroke, to work below the line, much as in butterfly, the athlete needs to flex the power platform in what we call the load. Okay. Now, this creates an urgency on the part of Mother Nature to expel this buoyancy. Okay. And this buoyancy wants to go vertical. Okay. Now, the danger in breaststroke is if you give it the opportunity, if you give buoyancy an opportunity to jump into the stroke, it will go vertical. And this is why in age group swimming, you see so much breaststroke that goes straight up. And that would be a case of the athlete flexing his or her neck here and creating a ruddering action that starts a lift, or downward pressure during the outsweep of the stroke. Then that allows buoyancy to jump in there and take the stroke over. Okay, and that begins an up and down cycle in the stroke. Okay, what the athlete wants to do is drop the buoyancy into the water at the end of the outsweep, what we call the Y corner, and then assert an anchor so that when the buoyancy releases, there's already a force present in the water in this direction so that the buoyancy is directed diagonally. Okay? And then that becomes a moment of opportunity in the breaststroke. Okay? And the athlete can bring his hips from this high position or this slightly elevated position down the water line to displace the upper body into the cobra position. We've seized that moment of opportunity with the release of the buoyancy by moving the hips forward, and the athlete goes from this curve of the body into this curve of the body. And those are both energy storage sites. There's energy stored here that's released and then restores in this position and is ready to be redirected forward. And that's when you use the spinal column to strike forward, much in the same way that snakes do. It makes me uncomfortable to use the word snake, but so the spine lays out off the moving platform of the mass of the hips. Okay? And so that third hieroglyphic looks something like this. The athlete has created a strike with his upper body into the water, and the legs just reflexively come in at that point and move back into the body line to carry speed, to carry forward velocity, and then we're ready to begin the reinitiation of the whole stroke cycle. Out into a load to store energy, release into another load above the water. Okay, gravity's pushing down at this point, and the athlete wants to direct the body mass forward so that it goes forward at an angle rather than falling straight down, and hits the water with velocity, carries speed back up to the surface, and then is reinitiated into another outsweep and load. Okay, and that's breaststroke, the manipulation of forces in the environment for velocity. Now, there are a couple of common, very, very common flaws in the stroke that allow Mother Nature to jump in and take the stroke over. And these are the athlete, rather than allowing, more or less allowing this movement and this body gesture to take place, the athlete attempts to lift themselves out of the water by arching their back, which will invariably cause a reflex in the hip flexors of the knees drawing forward and down into this position. Okay? Now, the water hates this. This abrupt change of direction is a very, very, very high drag-producing pathway for the water to take. Okay? And so the brakes go on, gravity jumps in, the athlete falls, and then the kick, instead of being used as an accelerating booster into the moving line, the moving balance line, has to redirect that downward plunge of gravity into forward movement, okay, which is very, very ineffective from a velocity standpoint, and in my opinion is kind of hard on the legs. Okay, so it has injury potential for the legs, because for a moment there's a tremendous load on the legs. Okay, and the other flaw at this moment is to revert to land-based posture with the head and look in this direction. Okay, here again, this shortens this line. All this momentum that's been created from a clean reloading of energy, that line shortened, gravity jumps in, and the weight of the head will plunge straight down. The athlete will land on their chin rather than on their forehead with the spine in line. Okay, and then you're back into that same cycle. The force of the kick, instead of being used inside the flow of the stroke as a booster that keeps reasserting the energy that's already in the stroke, the forward movement that's already in the stroke, the kick has to be used to rescue the athlete from the downward plunge of gravity and redirect him forward.
Breaststroke short axis swimming. Keep in mind that's a manipulation of your lungs forward and slightly below the line, releasing your lungs so that the water helps you carry them forward and slightly above the line. We're going to demonstrate that with head lead, body undulation. And remember, the head's not doing it. Its manipulation starts in the lungs. And you don't use your legs at all. Don't let yourself kick on this drill at all. Now, coaches, it's not important how far or fast a person travels here. Just allow them to play with their body in the water like Tara's doing right there. Very nice. Now, coaches, one of the things you want to watch out for is somebody punching their chin into the water like that. You don't want that. It comes from the head stays connected to the spine through the neck, and the neck is growing, and it's a manipulation of the lungs. Forward, slightly below the line, forward, and slightly above the line. All right, Tara, let's demonstrate that again. Posture first, manipulate. Now the energy is just flowing out of her lungs. That's starting in her lungs. Just letting your athletes play with this drill. Very nice drill, very nice. The next drill with body undulations is arm lead. Arm lead. Now, the arms are not going up and down. The arms are traveling just slightly under the surface of the water, directly toward the spot you're going for on the wall. Now remember, the eyes are down, the neck is growing, you're thinking of posture, ribs in, belly button up, against your spine and up. Forward. There you go. Very nice. You see, they're just playing in the water like an eel might play in the water. All right, this time, you're going just a little bit deep. Make everything forward. Just playing right on the surface. Try not to go under the water as you manipulate. Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. See the dry spot in her back go, runs right down her back off her hips there? Look at that little wave created by that dry spot running down her body. That's all you want to do right there. Beautiful drill. Now on this drill, We're going to talk about loading as you go to the corners of the wide Y. And you're in a line. You establish the line right here. Your eyes are really straight down on the bottom of the pool. Your palms are turned out with your thumbs down. And you sweep out, and you let your head ride right where the water's cutting your ears, right in half, but you manipulate your lungs forward and slightly down as you travel to a wide Y there. Forward and slightly down, then release back to the line. And then you do it again. And again, it's okay to flutter kick here. Load. 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 Very nicely done. Now, you want to grow that neck as you're going forward. You want to have as your chest is going down, your neck is actually, and your back of your head is actually traveling a little bit up. So your head stays right on the surface. Beautiful job there. Let's see it again. Load. Load. This is soft now, not hard here. Remember, 25 miles an hour in the neighborhood, right there. Now her hips are going up only because she's taking her lungs forward and slightly down. Excellent job there, Tara. Excellent job. Now our next drill is Cobra. And the emphasis in the Cobra drill is, if these are my hips, these are my shoulders, you take your shoulders forward and slightly up, and the hips travel very aggressively because you're on the corners now. Your hips travel aggressively forward there. Now it's not this. I don't take my head and shoulders back to my hips. I take my head and shoulders forward and my hips slide in under. That's the difference. And the distance your hips travel forward determines your distance per stroke in breaststroke. It's also the platform that you strike forward with off of. That's the platform you strike forward off of. All right. This first Cobra drill, I'm going to ask Tara to shoot her arms straight to the sky and really emphasize slamming her hips forward. Posture, line and balance. Load. Beautiful job. She drives her hips forward, and then she sinks right straight down almost because her hips are in under her shoulders at that time. And notice she just strikes with her arms straight up at this point. All right, now let's see that again, Tara. Load. Very nice. On the Cobra, coaches, things you want to watch out for. Don't allow your swimmers to start their head up. They keep their head in line as they sweep to the corners, as they sweep to their anchors. And then as their hands sweep in, they drive their hips forward as their hands go from the anchor inward and forward. It's all one motion back to the line. We're just over-exaggerating this by going to a vertical line. Posture, line, and balance. Load. Wonderful. That's Cobra done the way it ought to be done. Now look, you can't be a grass snake there. A Cobra sits up there. They've got some tone in their body. You can't be little weak in your body. You got to drive there. You got to strike. A cobra strikes. This is a very athletic, aggressive move. All right, let's see that one more time. Load. Very nice. Our next drill is still cobra, but we strike at about a 45-degree angle. Now, coaches, I'm going to warn you now, and athletes, it's not proper for all athletes, all breaststrokers, to try to recover over the surface of the water. It's all right to recover at the surface or even slightly under. And we'll talk more about that in just a minute. This drill is an exaggeration of working on finding the corners and slamming your hips through the anchor. That's what this drill is all about. All right? Cobra to a 45-degree strike. Posture, line and balance. Load. And she reestablishes her posture, line, and balance. She learns to travel after she swims, going back to posture, line, and balance. The basics, before and after every stroke. Posture, line, and balance. Load. Tara starts in posture, line, and balance, and she ends working on posture, line, and balance. And also notice, she's striking forward, she's not diving down. What drops her in the water? Mother Nature. Gravity drops you in the water. Let's go over that, recovering over the surface of the water. A lot of athletes have seen Tara Kirk, or maybe a Mike Barrowman, or Amanda Beard recover over the surface of the water. So they say, oh, that must be the way to do it. That's a mistake. The only reason those people recover over the surface of the water is they're very powerful athletes that really slam their hips forward, and as a result of the hip slam and the inward sweep, their hands wind up above the surface of the water, so now they strike over the surface. But they don't do this. They don't loop their arms up like that. That's a big mistake. Because, why? You're going up and down. You're not striking forward. We want everything going forward. So I'd like the recovery to be either above the surface of the water, if you can strike forward, or at the surface of the water, striking forward, or even slightly under the surface, as long as you're striking forward and not looping up and diving down. Got it? All right. Cobra drill here, striking toward the end of the pool. Posture, line, and balance. Load. Runs her line right there. Beautiful job. Let's do that drill again. Great job, Tara. Posture, line, and balance. Load. Balance it up. Great job. We're going to do that drill one more time, and I want you to notice three things. And in your videotape, maybe you run this over and over and look for each thing. Now, notice that when she sweeps to a wide Y, she does it softly. She does it with patience. Does she lose her posture, though? She doesn't go to a worm out there. She still stays like an arrow with her ribs in. But her arms sweep softly to a wide Y. Then they anchor on the corner and are ready for the inward sweep. And that's when she slams her hips forward, runs her hips forward there, and the inward sweep is one motion forward, striking to the line. And then she runs that line, posture, line, and balance. Notice on the underwater shot how this angle stays open. Because when we add the legs, we want that angle to stay open again. Posture, line, and balance. Load! Beautiful job. Beautiful. Run the line. Great, great job. Now, we're going to swim one stroke of breaststroke, and I'm going to ask Tara to take, it's going to be cobra drill with a breaststroke kick. But I want it to be a small, little, quick kick. You know, most people try to take big kicks because they think that's what has them go fast. It's not. You don't want to create resistance. So you're better off having it be a smaller, quicker kick where you keep the angle open here at the hips rather than dropping the knee and putting the brakes on trying to get a big old kick. Posture, line, and balance. Load. Run the line. Very nice. Very nice. Ready? Posture, line, balance. Load. Runs the line, runs the line. Coaches, this time, watch how she slams her hips forward. Watch how she leaves her knees back and just breaks those knees, raising her heels toward her hips. Now we're going to ask Tara to demonstrate full stroke breaststroke and watch the timing of the kick and the arms. And here's the deal there. You want to be fully streamlined in front before you kick, but you don't want to have to wait with your legs until you get streamlined. That's why it's important, not only for balance, but for the timing of the legs, to have breaststroke swum out in front here and not back behind. Now, if I'm streamlined out in front, when I kick, I'm going to receive the full benefit of my legs. But if I'm going to the streamline as I kick, I'm canceling out some of the leg kick. You understand that? So it's quickness. That's one of the reasons you go 25, 65, 100 to the line, because you want to get there before the legs fire. On this 25, notice the load here. She's allowing the water to help her move her lungs forward and slightly above the line. This time, let's focus on her hip movement. Look at those hips travel forward off of the wide corner anchor. On the next length, let's focus on her angle at the hips. Is her angle at the hips open? So she's eliminating as much resistance as possible. She goes to posture, line, and balance between each stroke cycle. And she maintains her posture as she swims the stroke. Rhythm in front breaststroke. You can swim breaststroke faster, longer, with rhythm in front and the elimination of resistance. Great job, Tara. One more length of perfect breaststroke. Championship winning breaststroke. Ready, go. I'd like to show you 3 drills that we do here at Stanford for breaststroke. And one of them is breaststroke arms with a flutter kick. Now what we're looking for here is a posture awareness. And the danger in this drill is that you want to make sure you stay loading and wide to the Y. Don't cut it off short. But a very fast kick with a pretty high rate going here. Now this is breaststroke arms with a flutter kick. Keep the ribs in, belly button in, and up. Ready, go. There you go. Breaststroke arms with a flutter kick. A great drill, but make sure they're being patient to a wide Y in the anchor here, and you want to make sure they're landing on their forehead and not punching with their chin, even though you want a high rate. Now, ask them to bring a real awareness to their posture. Ribs in, belly button against their spine, and up. Look at how she takes a breath, and her eyes are looking almost straight down, a little bit forward, but never looks at the end of the pool. Great, great demonstration, Tara. Now our next demonstration is going to be breaststroke arms with body undulation. Now you'll notice I didn't say dolphin kick because I don't want the emphasis on the feet at all. I want the emphasis in the upper part of the body. You're taking the lungs forward, slightly down, releasing forward and slightly up. Try to do this with as little up and down movement as possible. You're trying to swim in very shallow water, and you're trying to swim with as little lift over the surface of the water as possible. Swimming in the narrowest lane you can possibly swim in. Ready, go. Now, I think this is a great way to transition from breaststroke arms with body undulation and full stroke breaststroke. Every other stroke cycle be body undulation, breaststroke kick, body undulation, breaststroke kick. Now notice in this drill how Tara strikes forward with her whole body. She strikes forward with her upper body, her lungs, she strikes forward with her head, she strikes forward with her arms. Alternating kick, breaststroke, a great transition drill. A very important part of breaststroke, like in all strokes, is the walls. And the underwater pull down is a special talent and a special skill that you've got to work on. You push off the wall on your front, and you're in I'd like to have your hands side by side and maybe your palms tilted slightly out, and you're in a streamlined position. What are you thinking about? Posture, line, and balance. Now, just before you slow down, just before you begin to lose wall speed, you sweep out, sweep in, and accelerate down by your side here. Now, Don't be loose. Don't let your elbows be out. You want to be in the narrowest pipe you can be in. Hands right against your legs. Shrug your shoulders a little bit, but run your neck. Don't bring your neck down in here. Just bring your shoulders in. Implode as much as possible here. And then on the recovery, you want to sneak your arms up your body right here. Now, the biggest mistake people make is something like this, where they have a lot of resistance. You've got to cut through that resistance as much as possible, right here. And maybe you cross your hands over and come back to the line. And again, you want to load and be right into the breakout stroke. We're going to ask Tara to demonstrate the long pull, and the first time I'd like her to demonstrate just the running of the line and posture with her arms down at her side. Now, a common mistake here is that as somebody pulls here, anchors and tries to get their body to fly by their arms, they break, they take their head down below the line, or they break at the hips. You want to run the line right there. Grow your posture. Ready? Go. Now you'll notice from the underwater shot that Tara is straight off the wall. She's not down with her head and shoulders down here and her legs up here. Look at all that resistance. And she's not trying to climb out right there. She's running the distance. Even though I don't like the word, I'm going to have Tara demonstrate the long pull. Actually, it's setting the anchor, and your body slides by that anchor point in what looks like a long pull situation. Streamlined position here. Now, the things to watch out for are dropping the chin on the long pull or breaking at the waist at the long pull. You want to run great posture. Reach with the back of the neck. Grow the spine through the neck. Run a long line there. Now, just before you begin to slow down, you want to sneak your arms up to the line. Sneak your arms up. Be careful not to let your elbows flare out or have resistance this way. Sneak your arms up to the line right there, and then Tara will kick herself into a posture line and balance position. Now, on that kick, it's very critical that you not drop your knees, because you want to maintain your wall speed, and you've got to keep this angle open in order to do that. Go. Very nice demonstration. She has one of the best pullouts in the business. I want you to notice on the long pullout that as Tara's recovering her hands and her hands begin to break by her face right here, she starts slightly recovering her heels toward her hips, keeping this angle open, so that when she's to full extension, she's ready to kick once she's fully streamlined. So that's the timing of the kick off of the long pull. Go. Great job. Great job. All right, now there's one other drill that you can do to practice this elimination of resistance on the recovery from the long pull. And that's when you push off the wall with a head lead, arms at your side, and as soon as your feet leave the wall, you bring your arms to the line. You'll have a lot of speed then, and you'll have to learn how to practice that elimination of resistance. That's a great drill to have athletes become aware of the possibilities of creating resistance or eliminating resistance. Our next drill is a kick development drill, and you do it against the side of the wall. What you'll do is ask the swimmers to hook their elbows into the gutter and put their forehead right against the wall, and if your pool's not built this way, have them make sure that their head, they're growing their posture, that their neck's as long as possible. Now, in this drill, I want Tara's forehead against the wall, her chest against the wall, and her hips against the wall, and her legs just hanging loosely out of her hip sockets. And her legs are about anywhere from 3 to 4 inches apart. They're not together here. And you just hang there, getting the feeling of getting the chest and the hips right up against the wall. Now the next part of the drill is just recovering the heels toward the hips without letting the hips come off the wall. Tara, first demonstrate it wrong, if you will, and let the hips pop away. You see how her hips come off the wall there? That's because she wants to draw her knees up. Now, this time let's do it right. Raise your heels and press your hips into the wall and back down. Just raise the heels, flex the toes, and right back down. It's not a kick at this point. You're just learning what muscle tissue to use to recover the heels toward the hips, keeping the angle at the hip open. Back down. Now let's kick it. And you want to raise your heels, kick the line. You can start it out in slow motion to begin with. Now pick it up. Now this is a great drill to do if you spent 30 seconds doing this drill every day, maybe 15 seconds where you just recover your heels and then back down to the line, and then about 30 seconds of kick this way, you'd more learn how to kick without creating resistance by dropping the knees. This is a great drill. One of our favorite kick drills is triple kick. It's a great conditioner. It's great for your legs, and it's great for your lungs, and it's great for your posture, line, and balance. Triple kick breaststroke. 3 kicks for every 1 upper body cycle. All right? Let's watch Tara demonstrate triple kick breaststroke. On triple kick breaststroke, coaches, don't allow your swimmers to think breath first on the breakout. They want to think upper body forward, breath in the line. That's very important. Otherwise, don't do this drill. If they're going to come out of there getting a breath first, you're teaching them to swim breaststroke up and down. You're teaching them to swim breaststroke face first. And you don't want to do that. All right, let's see triple kick breaststroke again. Go. breaststroke kick on your back. This is another great drill to teach you how to kick with the angle at the hip wide open. You want this as much of a line as possible. So you kick on your back, both arms over your head, bring your ribs in, belly button down and against your spine and up toward your diaphragm. Now, without letting your hips sink and without letting your knees pop out of the water, I want you to drop your heels, kick back and together at the same time. I'm going to ask Tara to do it right, and then to show the mistakes, and then to do it right again. The first demonstration will be doing it correctly. She's on her back. Notice she drops her heels, keeps her hips right up on the surface, and her knees don't come out of the water. Again, you're teaching your body the muscle tissue to use to kick without breaking at the hips. On this drill, I'm going to ask Tara to do it incorrectly. And I want this to be the last length of this she ever does incorrectly. Here are common mistakes. Knees out of the water, dropping at the hips. Tara even has a little trouble doing it wrong. But you can see that her hips are dropping. Drop your hips even a little bit more, Tara. Oh, yes. Very nice. This time, let's do it correctly and completely forget how you just did it. Long glide. Working on your posture, line, and balance there. All right, now the next kick drill will be one with your arms down at your side. I want you to breathe every kick on this one, and you raise your heels toward your hips and touch your calf. Actually, you tuck your thumbs in under your hips right here, and then you raise your heels toward your hips and touch your calf there, keeping your angle open. Now, if you touch your heel, look what happens. You've got resistance here. You want it to touch your calf right there and kick. All right, now remember, you drive your hips forward, land on your forehead. Now, this drill is a great one for keeping the angle open at the hips right there, and it's not a bad timing drill for breaststroke. Nice job, Tara. Let's bring that back. You did a great job. Good job. Good job. You notice that her breath is right along with her body movements. Great job, Tara. Championship winning breaststroke. Ready, go. We're going to show you a few shots of breaststroke, swum head on, and swimming away from the camera, because there are some valuable things you can notice there. Primarily on the elimination of resistance side of the equation. On this stroke, when she's swimming away from you, is she eliminating resistance? Can you see her arms outside her body on a recovery? She needs to be hiding that inside her body line. When she's swimming at you, you want to notice that she's in a racing bike position right here, and that she's patient as she sweeps to the wide Y and then loads. All right? She loads her body, and her head and the breathing are right along with the body rhythms. It's not independent of the body rhythms. It looks like she's eliminating resistance pretty well. Now let's look for her. There she goes. She sweeps to the Y with her head still in line, and then her breath comes with the body rhythm. Wonderful job. Wonderful job. Now watch underwater and see if she's dropping her knees, or is she keeping that angle open? Notice that her knees are a few inches apart. They're not right together. When she's swimming away from the underwater camera, she kicks back and together at the same time. She's not kicking wide and then squeezing her legs together. I hope you've enjoyed this journey with us. I hope you've learned some things that are going to help you in your swimming career. I believe these are the foundations that the champions are using. You make yourself a winning champion by using the principles that have been taught in this videotape. I hope you have a great career, and we look forward to watching for you in the future.